Welcome everybody to the Houston Texans Madden 21 Rebuild franchise, where today we're going to be recapping the off-season live stream from this past Saturday. This is the fourth Madden franchise rebuild series I've done, but this was the first time I felt like I had to do an off-season live, with all the picks we had, and all of the failures in getting this team on track. I wanted the chat to help me out, and I wanted to have some fun with everybody and do one of these live, and it was a really good time. It was also 4 hours, so if you don't want to watch the 4-hour stream, I'm recapping it here in under 25 minutes. One of the first things we saw when we got into the offseason is a little dev trait regression here for Jabari Carr. I left that on because I feel like it's good for the league to have players drop in development. Not only does it impact development, but also regression, and you don't want a bunch of players just not regressing much late in their careers. And I don't think Carr has performed like a superstar player, so star just makes more sense. Now, the other thing the chat was talking about a lot is, can we fire Geno Harris? Well, the way it works in Madden here is I'm controlling the coach, so no, but we can completely edit him to be a different coach. So that's what we're going to do, and down below I want some suggestions. My favorite so far would be William Linsley, quarterback from the Buccaneers series, but if you have any other suggestions, leave those down below. One thing we did very early here is edit our schemes to a 4-3 under, no longer playing a 3-4 defense. I just feel like I want to try something different and see if we can get better results from this defense. So we're moving a lot of players from end to tackle and from linebacker to end. And then for the offense, I decided to go with vertical power run as the new scheme because the offensive line has the archetypes that I tend to build around with the O-line. Pass protecting tackles, powerful run blocking interior linemen. On now to re-signing. There wasn't a lot to talk about here. We traded basically everybody who was a key pending free agent. But I wanted to make sure we keep around Terrence Pearson. He showed enough good things, I think, late in the year to get another chance next season. But for many of the other expiring free agents, I knew we had so many picks, and we had a good chance to build depth in this draft class with a lot of intriguing rookies. So I didn't want to get into a bunch of deals here. One player I liked that I ended up letting go is Calvin Paulson. We just have Gordon Norwood in that primary receiving tight end role, and if I want to add a tight end, which I did in this offseason, it was going to be somebody who was a better blocker. So all we did is sign a couple players back and then franchise tag Rodrigo Blankenship after a pretty good kicking season. This left us now with $50 million available for free agency. A lot of our cap space was actually allocated to the draft picks because we had 10 top 100 selections. Over $20 million was set aside for that. It's a way of Madden kind of keeping you from messing up your cap situation before the draft. But there were certainly some intriguing players here in free agency, and as I've gotten the XP sliders where I like them, this is what I was hoping for. There are good difference makers at a variety of positions, and everybody's got a chance to get better in free agency now. And I felt like the main thing I wanted to do was address offensive line, where there weren't as many options, especially younger options. I don't really want a bunch of 30-year-old free agents on a team that's rebuilding, but somebody like Leslie Good would fit perfectly at tackle. There are a couple low ratings, but I think that his ratings are a lot better than Brendan McMullen, and I gave Good one of our first contract offers. With us going to a 4-3 defense, we now need an additional starting off-ball linebacker, and Kurt Reiner was easily the highest rated available, and we also gave him a contract offer. For wide receiver, I felt like I wanted to add wide receiver 3 competition, but not too much. We have Terrence Pearson, who has a couple years of experience, so it just made more sense to add a rookie in the draft than just have more veterans. I feel like that would just take away Pearson's opportunities. Safety was another spot we could have addressed. Marcus Barnett, good zone coverage safety, low speed though. I just didn't feel like he was the best option for us, so I didn't offer to him. And then for Daniel Cantu, all year I'm like, why are we getting these 30 and 40 yard punts all the time? He's got good accuracy, mid-80s kick power. It's not good enough in Madden 21. By far, worst average yards per punt in the league, so we are releasing Daniel Cantu, and I now know how important that kick power rating is. Everybody's like 80 to 99, so 85 is bad. I knew we had a lot of cap space here in free agency, but I wasn't just going to hand out a bunch of contracts like I have in recent off seasons. I'm accepting how far away we likely are from a title and only wanted to add players where I thought it made sense. I wanted players that still have a few years before regression and can immediately start. And the chat kind of talked me into looking at these running backs a little bit more. We tried bringing in somebody like Tony Pollard in the past, and we all know how tough it is to be productive with like 70s rated running backs. So Robert Penn being available in his mid-20s was really intriguing. Only 25 years old, he can catch the football. I felt like he'd be a really good addition. I like Manny Grubbs a lot, but we like Grubbs because of his development and what could happen. His rookie year wasn't good. He wasn't very productive or efficient. Robert Penn gives us a better chance of having a stronger running game, and I made sure his contract offer was 3 years, which would match up with the ending of Grubbs' contract, so they both become free agents at the same time, and then we can make decisions then about where we're going at the running back position. So I only made 3 main offers, and we got all 3 players. Kurt Reiner, Leslie Good, Robert Penn, 3 starting additions right away in free agency. I knew we could spend the draft focusing on the rest of our issues. From here, it was time to trade Jeremiah Bradham. He just hasn't become that star running back I thought he could be, and I saw the Patriots don't even have a running back on their roster. Not even one. They only had 1 quarterback as well, a 60 overall. So I decided to make a trade here that I don't think anybody else would have made, but I like to make trades where I'm not just ripping off the CPU all the time and getting 2nd and 3rd round picks. I wanted a good punter. I got a good punter, Jake Bailey, plus a future 5th round pick. I'll take it. I make trade offers now in contracts based off what I think is reasonable. And here are some of the other moves that happened in free agency. It's cool seeing big name players move around the league. It's what we all get excited for in the real NFL, and my series have lacked that for a long time. But I think that we're getting to a much better place where free agency is actually a fun event now. I think this is very good for leagues so that teams just don't have the same players every single year. That's not how sports are, especially these days. All right, let's focus on the draft now. First thing I noticed is, wait a minute, some things are changing. Occasionally you will find players whose talent grades change throughout the year. Nate Wheeler was a mid-first round quarterback last time we saw him, and now he was graded as an early first round talent and the #1 player in the whole class. I went into this offseason thinking there's no shot we target a quarterback, and then it suddenly became a possibility with us selecting #2 behind Philadelphia, who also had a need at quarterback. And the combine results also showed that Nate Wheeler does have good speed, so you're going to get some mobility with him as well. That definitely changed my approach for the draft a bit, as I knew I already had 2 first-round picks in the top 10, plus I was interested in moving up to have a 3rd first-round pick. So you could still take somebody like Nate Wheeler if he's on the board at 2 and make other moves. I was thinking about edge rusher at this point, wide receiver depth, and just the most intriguing early first round talents. When you pick at 2 and 8, you got to make sure you come away with 2 early first round talents that have a chance to be really, really good. I knew we could do that in this class, but obviously targeting a quarterback would mean, all right, maybe we're not focused on Jordan Love. That's 1 less pick to address other parts of the roster, and is Wheeler the right quarterback for us? So there were a lot more complexities, I guess, once we saw those talent grades change. I found a lot of players here that were undrafted that were pretty intriguing, and I wanted to make sure we could add depth late in this class while focusing on high upside players early on. And I felt like there were a lot of really good tight end options as well. That's an area of the team that's maybe a little bit underrated in terms of how much of a difference it could make if we find the right guy. Remember, we are the two-time reigning 32nd rushing team in the league now because our running backs haven't been the most talented, our line hasn't been the best, and our tight ends can't block very well. It's a multifaceted problem. I wanted to make all of those situations better in the offseason. Next up, we had to pick up the 5th-year option here on Amari Jones. That was an easy decision. That means next year his cap number triples basically to 14.8. From there, it was just time to get into the draft, and this process took over an hour to go through all of our picks and everything here, all of the deciding between players. Now, ultimately, I wanted to see what would happen here with Philadelphia. Do they go Nate Wheeler? He's the number 1 player now. Looks like he's a great quarterback prospect, and he's the only shot you have at a franchise quarterback, it appears, in this class. When we checked his profile here again, now it has him at mid-first talent. So what that meant to me is his rating is probably somewhere where it's like a tie, where there are some players that is overall who are early and some that are mid. That told me right away he's not likely a top 6 player or so in this class. Can still be really good, but maybe that means his development's a little bit lower than if he were the number 1 player in true talent. Ultimately, Philadelphia didn't take him number 1, and that also told me something. They had a need at quarterback, and they didn't take Nate Wheeler. Now, why would that be the case? This was really just me trying to decide if I felt like his development upside was enough to take him, because I like Jordan Love. Obviously, with any rookie, you have to develop them a bit, and it looks like Wheeler would be a great option, but I still like Love as well, and there were other players I felt like we could take at other spots to make more of a difference. And ultimately, I decided to take Allen Beverly at defensive end. Again, we go edge rusher in the 1st round. Chat really wanted me to go with Andrew Combs here, the best safety available. And I felt like Beverly, being a power rusher at 270 with great speed, that separates him from the other top edge rushers in the class, many who were 20 pounds lighter and were finesse rushers, just like the last 2 edge rushers that we have drafted. Bailey gave us a different skill set. Now, Nate Wheeler went with the very next pick to New England, and then Andrew Combs went. We picked at 8. I wanted to take a top safety. Combs was my favorite. I felt like it was time to move up to 5. That cost us a 3rd round pick. Now, with Tevin Tyson, I felt like he and Combs were very similar prospects, just Combs was 2 years younger. But we still get a hidden development player here, Tevin Tyson, at 6 foot. He's 3 inches taller than Andrew Combs, but great speed, high upside, I think, to be a versatile safety, play either spot, and I really like this skill set. And with Justin Reed at 28 years old, his contract's coming to an end soon. This helps us prepare in a big way. It was also nice to get at least one hidden dev player out of those top 2 picks. Next plan here was, okay, how do we attack receiver? There are so many good options early. Do we go for Max Whitmore, who's a late 1st round talent, or try to move higher up the board for either George Ingram or George Jones and get another early 1st round talent? That's obviously what I wanted to do because there were so many draft picks, and this is why we get them. Not to take 10 top 100 players, but to end up taking multiple high upside options. Early 1st round is the best we can do here. Now, it was too tough to work out a trade to get back in the top 10, which is okay. The contracts here in the top 10 are a lot larger. I was okay getting out of the top 10. Our favorite receiver here, after comparing everybody, ended up being Danny Short, and he was the 1st receiver taken. felt like his top 3 was just the best. But there were 2 more early first round receivers, so I was okay taking the 2nd or 3rd and not giving as much up in pick value to move up. To get into the top 10 is very expensive, especially from the 2nd round. Thankfully, there wasn't a run on receivers or anything. I was prepared for that. But then I also wanted to check out something here with expiring contracts on the team and found something I should have found earlier. Our top 2 defensive tackles, Jabari Carr and Kerry Borden, their deals are up after this year. So perhaps targeting a defensive tackle in this new 4-3 scheme also made some sense. Rudy Flynn was my favorite with the awesome combine, a sub 4.8 40. But Cordell Hillhouse, also 21 years old, ran a 4.75, had an outstanding combine. Felt like they were easily the 2 best options. There was a draft story about Hillhouse, but it didn't seem to be like one that would indicate bad development or anything. So I tried to plan a move up here with the Steelers at 13, and it was just a little too expensive. Couldn't make it work, so we go up to 14 instead with the Atlanta Falcons. That cost us a 2nd and 3rd round pick, and here I wanted to take a wide receiver. George Jones or George Ingram, both good options, both under 6 foot, fast, deep threats. I felt like Ingram was the better player. He has hidden development as well, number 6 in true talent, and 79 deep route running, 78 short. I really wanted some good short route running there, and my plan is to have him develop into a slot receiver. I was not done though with my quest to move up in this draft. I was prepared to make a 4th first round pick, but because we no longer had 3 second round picks, it was harder to move up. The 3rd round picks just aren't as valuable, so I had to do a lot more simulating. Heisman Trophy winner Shantavius Spruce, he ends up going to the LA Chargers. He had hidden development, by the way. We get into the 20s, and the Raiders at 24 take Rudy Flynn from Alabama. A handful of picks before our next selection. We probably should have moved up there. I was trying not to as we got pretty close to our pick. From there, I didn't think that Hillhouse would go. He was ranked so low on the available board, and we ended up getting to our selection with him still there. But he was still so far down the board, I felt like we could move back. And some of these trade down offers are worth listening to. Detroit's, for instance, we could gain a 4th round pick just by dropping like 7 spots. I felt like we gave up a lot in our trades already. We could get a mid-round pick for some depth later on and maybe still get Cordell Hillhouse. So they trade up for Dwayne Hobbs, then Max Whitmore's off the board. A lot of good options, by the way. This was a deep draft class, a great one to have all the picks that we did. And we do end up getting to 40 overall with Cordell Hillhouse still available. No more trade downs. Hillhouse is the pick and our 3rd hidden development player of the class. 21 years old, he has run stopper archetype with power moves in his top 3. I mean, that's the combination I'm always looking for. Your archetype tells me who you are as a player, but if you have other skills in your top 3, it tells me you're really well rounded. There's not much information you get from the draft process in Madden. It's so basic. That's the one area where you can actually start to check off multiple boxes for a player to say, hey, he can run, stop, and pass rush. We gotta go get him. After this, we ended up moving up here very aggressively in the bottom of the 2nd round because I wanted to add a tight end. We drafted Russ Watson, 21 years old from Texas, and found out that despite pretty good bench press, his blocking isn't that good. This is just basically a replacement for Calvin Paulson. Very similar skill sets. I gave up a couple picks to move up here to do it. I still felt like our answer at tight end wasn't found. He can still have a role, but I wanted a blocking tight end. And then round 3, pick 25 came up, and Dante Hairston was still available. A little bit lower in true talent, but hidden development. 5 spots lower, by the way, in true talent. but he has hidden development. He's 275 pounds and 65 run block right off the bat. So his run block is a little bit better, plus the hidden dev. He's not a great blocking tight end now, but with hidden dev and him being a rookie, he can get there awfully quick. Then with our later picks, after trading up so much, I was done. We had less picks to spend on depth than I had hoped. The trade up for Watson messed with that. But we ended up getting center Ernie Pittman, high strength, high run block. I think that he projects well as a backup offensive lineman. Then we saw the Patriots add another running back. They already had Jeremiah Bradham. Now they add Devin Bradham to work on that backfield. With our next selection, one of the undrafted receivers I liked a lot was Daniel Clifford. He had slot archetype, and that's how I plan to develop him. Very good speed and 79 short route running on day one. With our last pick, we selected edge rusher Daryl Layman. I wanted to add power rushers at defensive end. We took Beverly with our first pick and perhaps his backup with our last pick. And overall, I'm very happy with this draft class. I do wish that we didn't have to trade up for Watson. That's an area where I let true talent make the decision for me. It ended up getting a player that wasn't as good of a fit when I knew Hairston had more strength and was 275 pounds. So I could have inferred off of that he was a better blocker or had a better chance of being a high-rated blocker. If I just take Hairston, I end up with 3 more picks that we could have used to add depth. So that's the one area I wish I would have done differently. And then I'm sure there are some that think we should have taken Nate Wheeler, who has very good accuracies right away. I think he'll be a really good quarterback. We did check out his development here. The only player I did, it's star. And that was what I thought was going to be the case. I didn't think he was a superstar quarterback. So compared to Jordan Love, he's going to have better accuracy. He already does have better short accuracy. Jordan Love, though, does have a stronger arm, and there are some instances where that arm strength difference will come into play, but throw power can also get better here in Madden. Ultimately, I really wanted to give Jordan Love this season to show what he can do and not spend that early pick on a quarterback. We still have 2 first-round picks next year. But now we'll be able to decide on quarterback with more information. And hopefully Love is the franchise quarterback. That's ideal. We also got super lucky in this draft. I didn't get Rudy Flynn. I ended up taking Cordell Hillhouse. We didn't get Danny Short. We took George Ingram. In both instances, the earlier player taken had normal dev. The later players had hidden development. One spot that was also interesting here, TJ Reed. I think he had mid-first round talent. He ends up being pretty much just as good as Andrew Combs and Tevin Tyson. I think that he might even be better because of his run defense. So that was another area where things could have been different if you identify Reed as a potential starting safety and then decide maybe to take Wheeler at 2. There are a lot of routes you can go. That's what makes the draft so fun. And when you have 10 top 100 picks, the web of possibilities is enormous. But I like where this team is now going into the newest season. Felt like free agency was optimized. Like, I wouldn't change a thing there. 3 starters, 3 impact players. Robert Penn, can he help get this running game back on track? He and Manny Grubbs together will try to do just that. I also signed a backup quarterback to Jordan Love, and that is going to be Marcus Mariota. He had the best speed and the best short accuracy, so that was a pretty easy choice there. But here is what the roster looks like now going into the new year. I haven't edited the depth chart fully, or really at all, so there are a lot of things I have to do here to get it situated. But I just like, from a talent standpoint, the way this team is going now. We added a lot of good talent here under the age of 26, and this team should be a lot better. We should be able to improve after a 5-win year and then a 3-win season. We'll see if that's the case. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this off-season episode here in the Houston Texans franchise. Not sure if I'll do more of these off-seasons live, but this one was a lot of fun. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and our newest season will kick off very shortly. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you soon.